In 2017, Universal Studios announced the birth of a new shared universe of monster movies, bringing their classic horror icons into the contemporary franchise film landscape. But after the critical and financial failure of its first installment, the project was indefinitely abandoned. Now, in 2025, the powers that be have called upon one pulp horror devotee and one snarky film critic to unearth the concept. I'm Dylan Roth.
And I'm Dalton DeShane.
Are you afraid of the dark universe?
Welcome back to Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe, the podcast where we attempt to resurrect Universal Studios' failed cinematic universe of monster movies, one pitch at a time. I am your ultimate host, Dalton DeShane.
And I am your penultimate host, Dylan Roth.
And it's all been coming to this.
Oh, I should be... This is the penultimate chapter. Right.
3 years.
3
of podcasting have led to this episode. This is the one that you have been waiting for. That's right. This is episode 69 of Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe? We did it, folks.
Here we go.
We're here. It is episode 69.
Yeah, and you know what? We really should.
69 episodes.
We should just end it after this. We don't have to do part 3.
Yeah.
69 episodes is a great number.
Yeah, I think go out on top. We'll leave you on the cliffhanger. For you, it has been 4 days, or maybe not. Maybe you're listening to this later and you just hit play right now. But we are going right into this from part 1. We had a single slice of pizza and talked about Metal Gear Solid.
A single slice of pizza each. We didn't it would have been cute if, like, for instance, one of us took the pointy end and one of us hit the crest end and we kind of ate towards each other.
But then, like, you'd have, like, the sides of the pizza would kind of fall.
Wearing, like, weird pizza sideburns on the side of their face.
It wouldn't be as good.
Like that one famous Civil War general.
So we just stopped beating around the bush and just made out for a little bit.
Yeah, we figured episode 69 was the time to do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So welcome to episode 69, perverts. You are, but no doubt, chomping at the bit.
Champing.
Champing at the bit. It is champing. I always double...
I don't know what champing at the bit means.
But it is champing.
But I know that it's supposed to be champing.
Hop in the Discord and tell us what champing is. That's what this episode is all about.
It's a horse thing, right? This is a horse metaphor?
I think it's a horse thing,
okay.
Yeah. Horses have
because there's bits that they bite on.
Yeah.
But apparently they don't chomp on them. Apparently they champ.
Let's extend this conversation for another 10 minutes and not get to the movie that
Folks,
people are tuning in to listen to.
We will not
people
make you...
furiously hitting the forward 10 seconds button on their podcatcher.
We will not make you wait long. For this time, you've already waited an extra 4 days for Act 2. We will get into it right away. Is there anything else we want to talk about other than maybe giving a little quick previously on?
I think a quick previously on. If this is your first episode, you fucked up even more than last time.
Yeah, don't listen to this episode first. Please go back and listen to recap episodes and do Death's Door, and definitely listen to part 1.
And sign up for the Patreon at the Studio Mandate tier. You might as well start there.
Yeah,
start by paying us $25
First thing you should do is $25 a month.
And yeah, so previously on The Dark Universe, the world ended. Nick and Dracula were left. They went underground to a secret prodigium facility where they found David, who is the secret final midwitch twin, a alien who has psychic control over people by telling them what to do, and then they have to do it. They convinced him to help them break into heaven because Evelyn O'Connell would not let them in. They wanted to do that because they know there is a route into hell from heaven, and they know that because heaven was invaded by hell in the past, in the post-credits of our Heaven's Gate film. And so they figured they could sneak into hell through heaven. And so they got to the gateway to hell after a long and crazy chase sequence, and then Dracula killed Nick Morton.
Because shot him through the chest with a crossbow.
Yes, because Dracula needed to claim 3 specific souls in order to get his vampirism back. Those souls are Adelaide Van Helsing, who he killed in Death's Door, Set, who he killed at the same time because Set was in the body of Adelaide Van Helsing at the time that he killed her, and Nick Morton. So he has now completed that, which means the demon Pazuzu will be giving him back his vampire powers. And at the very end, we got a little teaser where Gwen Conliffe seemed to be working as a congresswoman.
Yeah, we saw Nick go into a very Nick Morton hell of being trapped in a very, very, very tight space.
The one from The Mummy Returns.
Yeah, essentially the same thing. And then waking up from her desk from a weird impromptu nap is Congresswoman Gwen Conliffe.
Congresswoman Gwenjamin Conliffe. Have we ever revealed her full name here? It is Gwenjamin.
I don't know that we've ever talked about it, but yes, Gwenjamin Conliffe.
Gwenjamin Conliffe. The finale is a good time to reveal things
that's a time to say that she's actually named Gwenjamin.
All right. Do you want us to stop fucking around?
Yeah, let's get to the drama.
It's only been 5 minutes. We could go another 5 on Gwenjamin.
So Act 2 is the one that I was in charge of. I started writing while Dalton was still writing Act 1.
You started writing this a year ago. What are you talking about? You had this in your head.
I actually had a lot of this down. This is some stuff that I was pretty clear about for a pretty long time. And so it was really very cool to execute on a lot of these ideas. And of course, a lot of it did happen as we go, as always, and from our conversations. But yeah, the basic premise of this and a lot of the sort of bullet points, especially around the character you've already seen, was gestating for about a year.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Act 2. A young girl, about 7 years old, walks towards an old Victorian house, holding each of her parents' hands.
Don't worry, you're gonna love it here.
It looks spooky.
There's nothing to be afraid of, honey.
It's okay. I like spooky.
Crossfade to the parents tucking her into her new bed in her bedroom, still full of packed up cardboard boxes. After her parents shut the door and turn out the light, she slips out of bed, wearing a long Casper the Friendly Ghost sleep shirt. She flicks on a flashlight, one of those big 1980s ones that runs on D batteries, and sneaks out into the hallway. She steps carefully, trying not to bend the old wooden floorboards. They creak anyway. A bug skitters across the floor, and she swings her flashlight around to follow it. As quickly as it appeared, the bug disappears into a crack in the wall. She chases it, then crawls on the floor and tries to peek into the crack with the flashlight. There's something in there, but not a bug. It looks like a piece of wood, about a centimeter thick. A pencil, maybe? The girl sticks her finger inside and fishes it out. She blows the dust off it. It's a wooden ankh, just a few inches long. The girl smiles.
Cool.
She gets up, her attention still on her mysterious new treasure. She turns around absentmindedly and walks straight into a floating cloud of white vapor. The girl screams, and so does the cloud as it dissolves into the air. She drops her flashlight, and it rolls along the floorboards. We can't see a thing. The girl keeps screaming. Cut to Gwen Conliffe, dressed in a sharp blue pantsuit with her hair tied back, hurrying down the steps of her congressional office in Talbot, California. Beside her walks Angela, her seasoned and straight-laced chief of staff, played by Ray Seahorn,
and voiced here by Victoria McNally.
A journalist approaches them as they walk to a waiting car, holding her phone out to record.
Congresswoman Conliffe, do you have any comment on yesterday's vote to sell an additional $2 billion in arms to Israel?
The bill passed by 41 votes.
And yours wasn't one of them. Can you explain your absence from the vote?
The Congresswoman had an urgent matter to attend to here in her district. The details are in your briefing packet.
As Gwen and Angela are about to get in the car...
Congresswoman, if you'd been there, how would you have voted?
Before Gwen can answer, Angela steps in front of her.
We're on a tight schedule today, thank you.
We hear the car door slam and we cut to inside the now moving vehicle sometime later. Gwen sits staring out the window. Angela works on her phone.
One of these days, someone's going to ask me about Gaza, and you're not going to be there to muzzle me.
Angela answers without looking up from her phone.
Yes, I will. Even if I'm not there in person, you'll hear my voice in your ear whispering, re-election, re-election, re-election.
Gwen keeps watching the window, stewing. Cut to that evening. Gwen enters her nice 2-story suburban home. It's dark inside. She hangs up her coat and tosses her keys in a bowl. She heads upstairs without turning on the lights. She creeps gently into her bedroom, trying to keep the door from creaking. It does anyway. Someone in the bed stirs.
Gwen?
Hey, babe.
The someone clicks on a bedside table. It's Larry Talbot, played in the film by Mason Gooding, and in this reading by Julian Ames.
What time is it?
About 11. Surprised you're in bed already.
I had an ugly, snarling beast of a day. Dad keeps laying off more managers and putting their accounts on my plate.
Well, did you talk to him about it?
Please. Last time I complained to him about my workload, he assigned me a 16-year-old to manage me.
Gwen cocks an eyebrow.
I was 14. What was your day like?
Met with a few union leaders who want me to push harder on AI regulation. Angela says I can't risk alienating Silicon Valley.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gwen. I know it's a bad beat. You got away with the Israeli arms abstention, at least. That's something.
No, it isn't. It's literally nothing. I didn't show up. I didn't vote. I didn't make a statement.
You're doing everything you can.
Gwen sighs. That's the problem.
You coming to bed?
Nah, I'm gonna stay up for a while. Unless...
Gwen fiddles with a button on her blouse, suggestively. Larry sighs and shakes his head.
Oh, I'm too beat. Tomorrow?
Tomorrow we've got that fundraiser, then I'm flying back to D.C.
Shit. Oh, maybe in the morning.
I got nothing till noon.
Gwen leans down and gives Larry a kiss for him to remember when he wakes up. He smiles and then rolls over, settling into bed with his back to her. Gwen steps out onto a balcony adjoining the bedroom and retrieves a vape pen from her pocket. She leans against the railing, taking a drag and exhaling months of exhaustion. A full moon shines above her. A doctor crosses a spare, dimly lit room, walking past a seated patient at a steel table and taking a seat across from them. The doctor, Dr. Chapman, is portrayed in the film by David Hyde Pierce and in this reading by Andy Webb. He wears dated glasses, thinning hair, and a gaunt expression. He is followed by a team of young residents, holding clipboards and taking notes on everything. The doctor looks at a case file in front of him.
So, how are you feeling today, Miss Marin, is it?
We reveal the patient across from him is Hunter Marin, played in the film by Zelia Mendez-Jones and in this reading by Kendra Wells, wearing gray hospital attire and hair buzzed down to their scalp. There are hard plastic wraps around their wrists. They don't respond to the doctor.
I'll be your new attending psychiatrist taking over for Dr. Lucas.
I liked Dr. Lucas.
And I apologize for the change-up. He was needed on a lower floor, but hopefully soon you and I will be just as close.
He smiles warmly. Hunter doesn't look up. Residents take notes.
Well, how have you been feeling since the change in your medication?
Cross-cut now between their conversation and Hunter going about their day in the hospital psych ward. They walk up to a nurse's window and receive a cup of pills.
Mostly the same. I sleep 12 or 13 hours a day. I wake up, I go to group. Dr. Browning tries to get me to talk. I go to lunch. I don't talk to anyone. No one talks to me. I go back to group. I go to dinner. I go to bed.
Back to the present in the office. Dr. Chapman puts down his notes and tries to look sympathetic.
Yes, Dr. Browning told me about that. You know, you might want to consider making some friends around here.
Hunter keeps their head down.
Can you look at me, Rita?
Now Hunter looks up sharply.
Hunter.
I'm sorry.
My name isn't Rita, it's Hunter. Is that in your little book there?
The residents furiously take notes.
It is. I'm very sorry. I hate this as much as you do, but this is a state hospital. I'm a state employee, and I'm required to follow state law, which restricts me from referring to you by a name or gender other than what's on your birth certificate.
Rita isn't on my birth certificate either, is it?
I apologize.
Anything else you're allowed to call me?
Dr. Chapman drops his head, collects himself, then looks back up at them over his glasses.
Patient. I can call you Patient.
He buries his gaze in his notes.
It says here that you haven't been eating.
Cut to Hunter sitting alone at a table, picking at a piece of salmon with a fork. Hunter continues over voiceover.
I haven't been hungry.
Hunter keeps picking at the salmon. There's something buried in the flesh. It's a scale, shiny and purple, but much too large to belong to such a small fish.
Are you still having problems with your vision?
No, I see fine.
Hunter pulls the scale out of the fish and shines it in their palm with a napkin. They hold it up to the light. When they look back down to eye level, they see a child of about 12 with long dark hair leaning their head against a big picture window. This patient was not there a moment ago. The patient taps their head against the glass, not nearly hard enough to crack it or even to hurt themselves, but when they do it again, a pair of orderlies takes them by the arm, shoves them in a wheelchair, and wheels them out of the room. Throughout this, we never get a clear look at their face. As they're being wheeled out of the room, they turn their head towards Hunter for just a moment, and we punch in close on the patient's eyes, young but lifeless. Hunter inhales sharply, stunned. Hunter watches the patient being pushed through a pair of double doors, which close behind them.
I just rarely understand what I'm looking at.
Cut back to the Victorian house that we saw earlier. The young girl sits on the floor with a Scooby-Doo coloring book while her parents watch a black and white movie on an old TV. As we see more of the place, it becomes clear that this isn't the present day, but the 1980s.
Can we get a dog?
You know they don't talk or solve mysteries in real life, right?
Yeah, duh, Dad. I'm not a baby.
Could have fooled me.
Oh, ouch.
The girl pretends it doesn't smart.
I think it'd be nice to have someone to play with.
And to take care of. A dog's a big responsibility, and you're not ready for it.
Hey, I had a dog when I was her age.
When you were her age, did you talk to the girl who lived in your closet?
Well, come on. She doesn't really believe that stuff. You're just playing around, right, Bunny?
The girl pouts.
Why don't you ever believe me? She's real. I see her all the time.
Well, is she here now?
No, only at night.
And only when we're asleep.
Maybe you scare her away. Maybe if you believed in her, she'd show herself.
That's not how things work, Bunny. You have to be able to see something before you can believe it.
What about Jesus?
That's different.
Oh, quiet. This is the best part.
On TV, Lou Costello runs frantically from Boris Karloff's Mr. Hyde. The girl's parents laugh. For some reason, the girl doesn't. In fact, she looks scared. Cut to later as the girl's mother tucks her into bed. The girl is clearly still a little shaken, but the mother doesn't notice or care. She shuts out the light and closes the door behind her. The girl looks up at the ceiling, nervously peeking out from under her covers in the dark. Then, a pale blue light glows from under the crack of the closet door, across the room, past the foot of the girl's bed. The door opens, and light fills the room. We don't see what's inside. The girl unclenches, sighs, and smiles.
Hi, Jenny.
It's morning, and Gwen slowly opens her eyes, stretches, and yawns.
I thought for sure you'd be awake before me.
Gwen rolls over and finds the other side of the bed empty. She sits up, looks around.
Larry?
She checks her phone. It's 10:30 a.m. She has a text from Larry from around 6 a.m.
Got called into work, tried to wake you, but you were out. See you at the fundraiser. Love you. Sorry.
Gwen groans, blows out her breath, then opens a drawer on her nightstand and pulls out one of those small plastic vibrators that attaches to the end of your finger like a claw. Hard cut to outside her bedroom door, and we hear it buzzing, along with some heavy breathing. Then the buzzing slows down and stops.
Motherfucker! I just charged this fucking thing!
We see the toy fly out the door and smack against the opposite wall, breaking in two. Cut to later, down in the house's foyer. Gwen rushes down the stairs towards the front door, toting a suitcase and dressed in something elegant with a low neckline. Without looking, Gwen reaches for her keys in the bowl next to the door. She stops, feeling something unexpected. Underneath her keys, she finds a white carving of a feather about the length of her index finger on a thin leather string. Gwen picks up the object, puzzled. Where did this come from? Cut to a Holiday Inn banquet hall. Nothing too fancy. After all, this is a fundraising event for a first-term congresswoman, not the president. Gwen is standing on a stage behind a man at the podium. She wears the white feather ornament as a necklace. On the podium, in front of a group of wealthy donors, stands John Talbot, portrayed in the film by Jared Harris and in this reading by Andy Webb.
During her first year in office, Congresswoman Gwen Conliffe has been an indispensable ambassador between social progressives and business interests. Thanks to her bravely working across party lines, corporations like Talbot Mining retain the ability to police and regulate ourselves, assuring a more prosperous future for all.
The crowd of rich old white people applauds.
Now, let's send Gwen Conliffe back to Congress.
Later, Gwen is working the room, shaking hands. After a solid hour of forcing a smile, Gwen sees someone that inspires a real one.
Maddie!
Gwen throws her arms around Maddie Conliffe, portrayed in the film by DeFaro Wunatai and in this reading by Dalton DeShane. Maddie sticks out like a square thumb, wearing an ill-fitting suit that his Uncle Ray probably bought in 1990.
Hey, sis.
It's so good to see you. Mom said you guys couldn't make it. Is she here too?
Just me.
Did you take the Greyhound?
Something like that. Can we talk?
Is everything okay?
Maddie looks over Gwen's shoulder. Angela is staring at him.
Not here. Outside?
Angela walks up and takes Gwen's arm.
Excuse me, Congresswoman. We have some high-dollar donors that would like a photo.
Gwen rolls her eyes.
Sorry, Maddie. This will take just a second.
Maddie sighs as Angela leads his sister away. He goes to the bar and orders a drink, leaning and watching her as she takes a photo with some old white people. And then some others, and then some others. Then she's talking to someone else and someone else. Maddie puts down his now empty glass and walks over to a security guard standing by the exit.
Hey, you see that woman over there?
He points to Angela.
She left her phone on the bar and someone keeps calling her. I think the ID said DNC chair.
The security guard rushes over to Angela. She leans in, listening to him, confused, and Maddie makes his move. He rushes across the hall to Gwen and grabs her by the arm.
Come on, we need to have a chat.
Whoa, okay, bro, whatever you say.
He leads her through the door that is no longer guarded and out onto the sidewalk.
Where's the fire?
Gwen.
He looks around, unsure exactly how to say it.
Are you happy?
What?
All the things you care about. They're always just out of reach, aren't they?
For fuck's sake, Maddie, are you high right now? This is a really big night for my campaign, and you pull me out here for this?
Listen, Gwen, None of this is right. None of this is how it's supposed to be. Don't you feel it? That hollowness inside you?
Maddie, what? You're being really weird right now. You don't sound like you.
When was the last time you felt your heart beating?
Maddie grabs Gwen's hand and presses it against her sternum, exposed by her gown's low neck. Gwen looks up at Maddie, confused and terrified.
Maddie, what is this?
He keeps his eyes locked on hers. She tries to pull her hand away, but he won't let her. Slowly, we hear the crackling of bones. Gwen looks down in horror as her chest caves in, bit by bit, until her hand is all the way inside. She looks back up at Maddie, shocked silent. He lets go of her and steps backward. Gwen pulls her hand back out, and it's covered in ash and blood. Inside the hole in her chest, there is nothing. She screams.
Gwen!
Startled, Gwen whirls around to find Angela standing at the open door back to the ballroom. Gwen looks back at her hand, which is clean and dry. There is no hole in her chest, and no sign of Maddie. If Angela heard Gwen scream or is concerned in any way, she doesn't show it.
You can't just disappear like that. You're needed inside.
Gwen takes one more look around, steadies herself, and follows Angela in. In their hospital room, Hunter sits in one of those big hospital chairs that's somehow squishy and boxy at the same time, so you can never really get comfortable. There's a metal mesh over the windows and a TV on the wall playing Paw Patrol. They try to turn it off or change the channel, but the remote doesn't work. To divert themselves, they flip the shiny purple fish scale they found at dinner around in their hands. A note slides under their door. Hunter gets up and crosses the room to collect it. They try to open their door, but it's locked. They pound on it.
Hey, who's there?
There's no answer, and no one visible through the window. Hunter unfolds the note, which is a thin piece of wide-ruled notebook paper torn from spiral binding. There's a drawing on it, applied so aggressively in ballpoint pen that the paper is fragile in the darkest spots. The image is of a small, crude human figure in white standing in a black cave. Below is its exact inverse image, a black figure in a white cave. Hunter runs their finger across the black ink of the cave. The ink ripples like a puddle. They pull back their hand. Their fingers are wet like they've been dipped in a jar of black paint. Puzzled, they wipe the ink on their hospital clothes, but as they move their hand, the ink leaves a solid trail through the air. Hunter drops the paper. It doesn't fall. It just floats, parallel to the ground, like it's on the surface of an invisible pool of water. Suddenly, ink starts gushing out of it from both faces of the paper. Soon the room begins to flood, not just from below, but from above, where the ink is gathering on the ceiling in defiance of gravity. Hunter scrambles towards the far wall, the one with the mesh-covered window. They scream, pounding at the mesh, but it's no use. The black ooze coats the floor and the ceiling, and the two pools grow deeper, converging rapidly around Hunter. They scream and pull against the mesh with all their might as the black closes in around them, filling their nose and mouth. They choke, gasp, and drown. Hard cut to Hunter, totally dry, diving for the toilet bowl in their hospital bathroom. They vomit, flush, wash their face, and stare themselves down in the mirror. What a nightmare. They flop onto their hospital bed. They roll their head on the pillow and notice something. The fish scale is still in their hand. Cut ahead to Hunter in the interview room, behind a table, facing the door. The door now has a narrow window out into the hall. It didn't before. Hunter rubs at their wrists, which are no longer covered in plastic. There are long red scars down each one. Dr. Chapman enters, followed by his cohort of residents, and sits opposite Hunter with his clipboard.
Good morning, patient. How are you feeling? I heard you had an incident last night, some sort of hallucination.
Why do we talk in this room?
I beg your pardon?
What is this room, even? This is a hospital, right? You're a doctor, so why do we do therapy sessions in an interrogation cell in a cop show?
I'm not sure what you mean. I don't see anything wrong with this room.
I didn't used to either. I mean, it felt wrong, cold, empty, uncaring, but so did everything in this world.
Say more about that.
Ever since I was a kid, I always felt like I was treading water with weights around my ankles. I was working so hard all the time just to keep from drowning. I never had the energy to really examine it, you know?
And do you feel that you have the energy for that now? Perhaps you're finally responding to treatment.
No, I don't think that's it.
Hunter looks over Chapman's shoulder through the window, where a long-haired child peeks their head into view.
I think it has something to do with this.
Hunter flicks their wrist, and the purple fish scale appears in their hand like a card trick. Chapman sits up straight. The residents stop writing their notes.
How did you get that in here?
They fiddle with the scale, rolling it over their fingers like a coin. Its size and shape keeps changing.
I don't know. I found it the other day, and now it's always with me.
Chapman starts sweating. He opens his mouth to speak, but before he can...
A funny thing happens when you finally kick those weights off your ankles. It turns out you've got really strong legs. Suddenly, not only can you take a good look around, but you can pick a direction and swim.
Chapman dives forward across the table and snatches the scale away. He falls back into his chair, clutching it to his chest. He looks up at Hunter, who's unfazed, confident, smirking.
You're a spry old dude, huh?
Hunter calmly digs their right thumbnail into their left wrist, tracing the scars from a previous suicide attempt. The skin breaks easily. Chapman watches in horror. Hunter picks at the inside of their wrist and retrieves the purple scale. Chapman checks his own hands. The scale is gone.
I told you. It's always with me. I think maybe I was buried with it.
Buried? You're acting delusional.
It's starting to come back to me. A while back, an old friend gave me a bag of weird old totems for protection. I didn't know from what. But he paid me a visit last night, and I think I finally get it.
Chapman slowly rises from his chair and backpedals towards the door.
We all go to hell when we die, right? That's why we exist, so you guys can have your fun, torturing us for eternity.
Chapman tries to open the door. Something's blocking it. He looks through the window, the one that's not supposed to be there, and sees the child's menacing grin. He screams. Water starts to leak in through the crack under the door. The residents have disappeared.
Except I don't think you're fully in control of this world. If you were, you'd be driving hot pokers through my skull or something.
Hunter holds up the scale and watches how it catches the light.
I think that this totem gives me just as much power here as you. And your strategy was to keep me from noticing. You put me in a hell I would believe was real life, so I wouldn't try to escape.
Chapman tries the door again. He looks through the window. The hallway is flooding. The water level is now up to the grinning child's chin.
And that's the real joke, isn't it? You could have stashed me away in a paradise, a dream I would never want to wake up from. But you just can't help but fuck with people, can you?
Outside the window, the hall is fully flooded, and the child has floated up to Chapman's eye level. Inside, Hunter, too, rises from the floor at the same rate, their skin and clothes dripped with water. Chapman cowers in fear, with his back against the door. Hunter's voice gradually splits, doubling, then tripling, their natural tenor joined by a child's treble and a monster's bass.
You don't know what to do with power, except to lord it over someone with less.
The floating Hunter looks down at the trembling Dr. Chapman.
I can see the appeal.
The door behind Chapman bursts off its hinges, and water gushes into the room. We hear him scream, and the door is pushed up into the camera as we cut to black. Hunter opens their eyes to find the psychiatric hospital is gone. They're standing in the fiery depths of hell, screams echoing in the wind. Then, they're hit by a flash. We see a rapid-fire montage of the events of Death's Door, including Hades' death blow to the creature, the showdown in the Empire State Building, and finally, the lifeless body of Jack Griffin. Hunter falls to their knees, the wind knocked out of them. They clutch the scales to their chest, with tears in their eyes.
Okay, Charon, let's go find our friends.
Over black, we hear a delicate piano arpeggio. Then, a voice.
Somebody hold me too close. Somebody hurt me too deep.
We fade in on a man with wild red hair sitting at a grand piano, dressed in a fine tuxedo, performing a song from Stephen Sondheim's Company.
Somebody sit in my chair and ruin my sleep.
We circle the piano, revealing the entirely visible face of Jack Griffin, played in the film by John C. Reilly and voiced here by Joe Stando. He's playing on the stage of a grand amphitheater lit only by the sunset.
Somebody need me too much. Somebody know me too well. Somebody pull me up short and put me through hell and give me support for being alive. Make me alive. Make me confused. Mock me with praise. Let me be you. Somebody crowd me with love. Somebody force me to care. Somebody let me come through. I'll always be there, as frightened as you, to help us survive. Being alive, being alive, being
His voice rings over the final fading chord on the piano. At last our attention turns toward the house, where every single seat is filled with a rotting human corpse. Jack looks out at the silent audience. He stands up from the piano, turns towards them, bows grandly, then sticks his hands in his pockets and slowly wanders off stage. We follow Jack through the corpse-littered streets of Portland, Oregon at dusk. There is no evidence of violence or war. Bodies simply lay or sit wherever they happened to fall 2 years ago when everyone dropped dead. Everyone but Jack Griffin, who saunters down the street with his head down, lightly kicking debris out of his path. He approaches an apartment building. 2 corpses sit in front of the building at a fold-up table where a chess game has been set up.
Evening, Elroy. Frankie. Who's winning?
Jack walks up the stairs and through his front door, which is open because, frankly, why the hell not? He continues through his routine, walking up the stairs to his apartment, giving half-hearted greetings to his dead neighbors. He enters his apartment, a small place that's become cluttered with treasures and doodads that he's raided from shops, homes, and museums around town, evidence of the ways he's tried to cheer himself up while being the last man on Earth. He has not, however, upgraded to a larger living space. The vestiges of his old, lonely life are still here, too. Old family photos with smiling relatives, but nothing recent. No evidence that anyone else has ever lived here, or that he entertained much. The camera holds for a brief moment on an old speed dating ad, wrinkled and halfway under the fridge. He puts his tuxedo jacket on a mannequin he stood up just inside his apartment, then plops onto his couch with a can of baked beans and a hardcover of Robinson Crusoe. As the sun sets, we fade to him asleep on the couch, book at his side, empty can of beans on his belly. Fade to black.
Jack.
Fade back in through a haze of sleep on Jack's face. He's woken up suddenly by a pounding sound. Jack sits up with a jolt, spilling bean syrup on his tuxedo shirt as he scrambles to his feet.
Who's there?
There's nobody. He goes to his front door, which is still swinging open. The pounding happens again, seeming to come from all around him.
Hello? What's going on?
A distant voice calls out to him.
Jack! Jack, can you hear me?
Who's there?
It's me, Hunter.
Okay. Me, scientist.
Why are you talking like that?
I thought you were talking like that.
Why would anyone talk like that?
Heck, I don't know. You're the first person I've talked to in over a year.
Hunter's demeanor shifts.
You've been alone for a year?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I'm the only one left.
Jack, you need to let me in.
Let you in where? The door's wide open.
Into your hell. You have the power, I promise.
My what?
Just focus. Close your eyes, think hard, and invite me in.
Jack is wary, but does as he's told. He takes a deep breath and swings his apartment door wide, gesturing inside.
Okay, Mr. Ghost. What the hell? Come on in and keep me company.
Jack opens his eyes. Standing in the doorway is Hunter, eyes brimming with tears. They rush forward, wrapping their arms around him and holding him in a long, warm hug. Jack's confusion gives way to relief, and then the release of months of despair and loneliness. He collapses into their shoulder and cries.
Cut to a bit later. Hunter sits on the couch now as Jack returns from the kitchen with a tall stack of fresh homemade waffles.
I'm so grateful to see you, to see anyone. I thought I was the only survivor, that somehow some of my food chemistry experiments made me immune or something. Though, immune to what, exactly, I still can't say. I'm no virologist. Do you know what happened?
This might be difficult to hear, or maybe it'll be a relief, but none of this is real. You're not the lone survivor of the apocalypse. You were one of the first to die in it.
I'm dead?
Yeah.
So, this is hell then.
Yup.
Jack scratches his head.
Well, that would explain why every piano I've ever found has one note that's way out of tune, and why all the books on piano tuning are missing.
When you've been out scavenging, have you ever come across a small silver cross, like the kind on a necklace?
If I ever did see one, it's not likely I'd notice.
I know you're not a big jewelry guy.
I mean, I'm also Jewish.
Hunters smack themselves on the head.
Fuck! That's right. How the fuck did I forget that? Okay, my bad. That one's on me.
What are we even talking about here?
Cut to Hunter rummaging through piles of Jack's things while he watches with his hands on his hips.
You're saying that there's some kind of magic charm around here that could have set me free from this horrible, lonely prison of a life, gave me back years of memories of love and fellowship, and granted me godlike power over my surroundings, but I was never gonna find it because all my friends forgot I was Jewish?
Look, I'm sorry, it wasn't a big part of your thing. You just mentioned it once or twice in between Christmas carols.
Lots of Jews enjoy Christmas. If you'd buried me with an enchanted Christmas ornament, you can bet I'd have noticed that.
Cut to outside, where Hunter searches the stoop and shrubbery in front of Jack's apartment building.
My totem went out of its way to find me. Yours has got to be somewhere nearby. Is there anything around here you interact with regularly?
Jack absentmindedly leans on the shoulder of one of the dead chess players.
Not that I can think of.
The player's collarbone cracks in half under his weight. Jack recoils.
Ah! Oh no, Elroy!
Jack drops to one knee and tries to get the body's head to stand up properly again.
I'm so sorry, buddy. I wasn't thinking.
Jack adjusts Elroy's neck and shirt collar, drawing his attention to a chain around his neck, on which hangs a silver cross. Jack gently lifts the chain off Elroy's neck, stands up, and watches the cross dangle in front of him.
That's it.
Jack sighs.
Okay then. Sorry, Grandma.
With his back to Hunter, Jack lowers the chain over his head and lets the cross fall on his chest. At first, nothing happens.
It might take some time to come back to you.
Gradually, before Hunter's eyes, the tips of Jack's fingers begin to fade away. The invisibility travels up his hands, out of sight, and into his sleeve.
Oh shit, Jack, I didn't know this would... It never occurred to me that it would change you back.
Jack's hair disappears from the end of each strand, so it looks as if it's retreating into his scalp, which disappears a moment later.
It's all right, Hunter. I'm the one doing this.
As he turns to look at Hunter, Jack's face disappears. Then bandages roll out from under the collar of his shirt, covering his entire head. He raises two bandaged hands, one holding a pair of sunglasses, the other a Stetson hat, and fits them on.
This is me.
Hunter gives Jack another big hug, and he returns it, not with despair but with joy, lifting them off their feet and spinning them around.
It's really good to see you, Hunter.
Hunter smiles, wipes away a tear.
It's really great not to see you, Tio Jack.
Jack and Hunter inspect each other. Jack's necklace is now a Star of David, and they start walking together down the empty street. As they stroll away from us, towards the sunset, the space in front of them begins to split, its edges wreathed in flame.
So what's the plan? How do we get to the others?
I think that now that we have two totems, it'll be easier to get into their hells on our own. The more we have, the better.
Where are they?
Don't know yet. I went looking for you first.
Wow, really? Shucks, Hunter. You got me blushing right through my bandages. You're a real sweet kid, you know that?
Yeah, but don't tell anybody.
As they walk through the portal at Hell's Edge, the world behind them crumbles to ash, which blows across our screen, transitioning to black.
So yeah, we forgot that Jack was Jewish.
We both forgot.
Someone pointed that out to us after,
and we felt really bad.
After Death's Door. We felt really bad. To be fair, it was one line in the first holiday special that I just kind of threw in as a gag, but while Jack was like bantering with Nick. I was like, well, also one of our Dark Legion should be Jewish if we're doing a holiday special. Yeah, so someone pointed that out, I think in Discord maybe, after Death's Door came out. They were like, they buried Jack with a cross necklace and he's Jewish.
Understandably frustrating and being like, well, that's like really, really fucked up.
Yeah, we fucked that one up.
Yeah, that was just literally we forgot. And so the only thing that we could do, other than like, go in and fix it in the thing, which is not what we do, is to make it a bit. So I made it a bit. And look, and reintroducing Jack should be funny.
Yes,
right?
Your Blorbos are back, ladies and gentlemen.
So here
and
we are,
and gentlemen.
So as you've now put together my portion of the movie, as Dalton said in the previous episode, Dalton wanted to fulfill the promise of the premise of this is Nick and Drac alone fighting against the end of the world.
Yes.
And my mandate was to do the sort of, now this is the Dark Legion movie that follows Death's Door, where we are picking up with these characters in hell and doing a little, getting the band back together.
Because that's also part of the premise, right? Is like, it's a Dark Legion movie. I'm sure everyone knew or at least suspected we'd be seeing these characters again.
Yeah.
Also because of the Marvel setup, like everyone who gets snapped away. But we're doing it in a little bit different way. At least we hope so. The way that we're these people aren't necessarily coming back. It's just that when we kill a character, that's not the end for them. We know where they go,
Yeah, and
we've seen that place before.
Yes.
So we can just go to the place that they went and see what's happening to them.
Yeah, you'll hear a little bit more about this in the planning episode, I guess in a week and a half or so.
Yeah.
But
2.5.
2.5 weeks from now, that's right. I wanted to use Hell to dig into each character on like a less gnarly level than a conventional Hell. So we came up with this device where we always knew we had to define what the totems did.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy with what I came up with there, of the idea that like they get these sort of softened, more like softened psychologically torturing hells that allow me to do some scenes where you play with their wants and try to resolve their arcs.
And we'll go into more the totems and what exactly effect they have, but that's part of the gist. Yeah, is that like we talked about this in the planning up where you had these ideas for these more psychological hells, and I was like, okay, but I also don't want to defang hell,
right?
You know, and like take away. We've already shown a bunch of really gnarly, violent stuff, so yeah, we were like, well, that's going to be part of what. Not that we like didn't know what the totems did. We've
had a general idea.
We've had some general ideas since we introduced them. We basically knew. We introduced the totems when Carol died.
Yeah,
I think this is
that was your idea. That you introduced that. In the Invisible Man's Revenge at Carol's funeral.
Yeah.
That's where the first appearance of those.
Yeah, and we had some ideas from there, but at the time we knew, as we said in Death's Door, that everyone was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, well, these things will give them power in hell. And you'll hear some more. Maybe we'll talk next time about the power ideas we had. But the idea was that these things will come into play in Hell on Earth. We knew that this is like a trigger we can pull in Hell on Earth that will give our heroes a leg up, you know?
Yeah, it's also like we can't make it really easy to escape hell, because then why haven't other people done it?
Yeah.
Right? That's the kind of thing where like I always hate where it's like you have something where, you know, there's this bad magic and the heroes are able to break it through, I don't know, the power of love or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, that just means everybody who didn't break it, you're implying that they just don't love, you know, somebody who was bewitched into killing their spouse. I guess he didn't love his wife the way that our lead characters love each other. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked. It's just a character shield. I hate that shit.
Yeah.
We weren't going to do that. We had to make sure there was something that made them unique that allowed them to do this.
Yes.
And this is a little gift from Charon.
Mm-hmm. He went Charon mode and gave these gifts. But yeah, so we're seeing them again. Who knows where they'll end up, but we know that Hunter and Jack have sort of broken out of their hells.
Yeah. Oh, and this is where I want to acknowledge, especially since somebody did make a joke about this in the predictions, which we mentioned last time. Big influence on this with the final season of Lost.
Yeah, the moment where Maddie is like, don't you feel that like something is wrong here? That's like Desmond in the final season of Lost, you know? Or Charlie, I guess, does it first.
I just like the idea of exploring these sort of alternate worlds that are going to challenge the character that we know and kind of change who they are a little bit, but ultimately are revealing of who they've been the whole time.
Yeah.
And in a way that pushes them forward. Like, we have so much plot that we have to do. It was really important to me that a big chunk of that plot was going to be sort of novel ways to clearly define and conclude these character stories.
Yeah. Which is hard to do when you got as many fucking characters as we do.
Yeah, there's so much,
but,
right?
Speaking of all those characters we got to get through, only 2 people have gotten out of Hells. Will the rest of them?
Yeah, what's happening?
Maybe it's just going to be Hunter and Jack for the rest of the time, and everyone else is dead for good, but we can only find out by continuing to read on.
So let's go. Fade in from black to an ornate opera house stage beneath a gold proscenium. Its red curtains closed. We're looking dead on at this, the proscenium arched, perfectly framing our screen. The house lights dim, and the curtains open. Spotlight on a ballerina in a black dress, looking down at her feet, crossed in 5th position. One of her arms slowly rises, then the other. We push in as the ballerina starts to dance, but she doesn't lift her head. Her every movement is strange, as if her limbs are being pulled by strings. They are being pulled by strings. There are barbed metal spikes running through her hands and feet, attached to thin, shiny fishing wire. As she dances to one of the jauntier portions of Swan Lake, let's say Act 2, Number 13, Dances of the Swans, blood drips from her wounds and smears across the stage. The strings pull her up into the air for clumsy approximation of balletic leaps. Her head bobbles limply, like she's asleep. She lands, and her head rolls back to look up at the rafters above, where invisible, chuckling figures pull her strings. We look down at the tear-stained face, awake yet lifeless, of Countess Marya Zaleska, portrayed in the film by Janelle Monáe and in this reading by Anique Evans. Her eyes pray for a death that's already come. Whoever's up in the rafters slowly lowers an object down to her, a butcher's knife. The strings lift Maria's hand towards it, and they swing limply against each other a few times before a sharp tug from her string prompts her to close her fingers around the handle. From the wings, a parade of other dancers, without strings but still wearing terrified faces as if dancing unwillingly, twirl towards her. She slays them one by one, gracefully. Once they're all dead, she drops the knife, and it dangles on the string, swaying back and forth. Marya looks down at the blood-smeared floor. Tears drop from her face. Above her, the knife rises, but the string it's hanging from remains limp. Something disturbs the smear of blood on the stage. A bare footprint. Marya gasps. She looks up, sees the knife just above her head, held up by something below. The knife swipes at the strings and cuts them all in one stroke. Marya falls, but someone catches her. Someone invisible. The music swells and Marya wraps her arms around Jack's invisible neck and kisses him hard. As they kiss, Jack gradually reappears, as do his bandages and formal attire. When their lips part, Marya smiles, years of despair lifting.
Hello, handsome.
Before Jack can say anything, two bodies fall from the rafters. We hear their necks snap on impact. It's Dracula and Carmilla, a cameo from Carrie-Anne Moss, dressed for the theater. Marya looks up at the rafters. Hunter is leaning over the railing.
Show's over. Come on.
Cut to a chase scene through narrow library stacks. A woman dressed in a tan button-down shirt and khakis runs breathlessly down an aisle full of ancient tomes. As she runs, the books fly off the shelves behind her, chasing her like bats. She bolts around a corner, diving out of the way of a swooping, leather-bound monster. She sprints to a wooden double door. A way out. She tries to open it. It won't budge. She reaches into her pocket for something. But it's not there. From behind her, a voice.
It's gone.
The woman turns around, her back to the door. It's Dr. Jennifer Halsey, portrayed in the film by Annabelle Wallis and voiced here by Ella Dawson. She looks up as a figure floats through the air towards her, dressed in a black cloak.
You threw away your universal lockpick, remember? After all, what use was it once you had me to open doors for you?
The floating figure is also Dr. Jennifer Halsey, as we saw her at the end of Death's Door, her skin drooping from sudden aging, her tangled white hair escaping from under her black hood. Her eyes glow purple and black. She raises her hands, and they glow too. The first Jenny, the one dressed as she was in The Mummy, grits her teeth and scowls up at her doppelganger.
You're not real. You can't hurt me.
Of course I can, child. I'm the only one who can. After all, who else could do it? Who else matters enough? Your lovesick, barely functional sex toy, Nick Morton? Your Cupid-or wife?
You shut up about my wife. You killed her.
The elder Jenny swipes forward with her arms, and the flock of books fluttering behind her explodes into a whirlwind of loose paper.
You killed her.
The storm of pages crashes against Jenny like a tornado. The edges of the paper scratch her skin 20 times a second. Streaks of blood appear across her face, and her clothes begin to tatter.
It was your fear, your arrogance that killed Carol. You could never...
There's a deep rumbling sound from behind the elder Jenny, like an earthquake. The remaining books in the stack rumble on their shelves. Dark Jenny turns around in time to see a massive wave of water crash against the nearest corner and then rush towards her. She's knocked backwards from the impact, crashing right into the younger Jenny, crushing them both against the door and fusing them back into one being. The blood-stained papers swish around in the water as its level slowly lowers. The room drains, leaving a carpet of soaked, inanimate pages on the floor, and one Jenny collapsed against the locked library door. Her face is unblemished by magic, but she now wears her darker half's black hood over her classic desert khakis. She looks up and sees three figures walking down the aisle toward her. Jack, dressed in his suit, shades, and bandages. Marya, in a gown fit for a countess. And Hunter, in a tank top and jeans. Jack stands in front of Jenny and extends a hand down to her. She turns away.
Hey, Jenny. We're the Dark Legion. We're here to help.
Leave me here. I deserve this.
You know that's not true.
Of course you think that. You love me.
Jenny looks up at Hunter.
You all love me. Even when I hurt you, abandon you.
I don't love you.
Everyone looks at Marya. She shrugs to Jack.
I don't.
Marya looks back down at Jenny.
And I died for you anyway.
Marya extends her hand. Jenny finally lifts her chin.
Don't make me regret it.
Jenny takes Maria's hand, and Marya lifts her to her feet. Jenny dusts herself off, takes a look around.
It's just the three of you. I can't believe you came for me before saving Carol.
We didn't. We've been looking for Carol for weeks.
At least, we're pretty sure it's been weeks. Time is weird down here. We actually weren't even sure if you were dead. You lasted longer than any of us.
Is Nick still alive?
He was when I last saw him. We were in battle with Set and Ahmanet. He might have made it.
Let's hope so.
Hunter indicates their scale totem.
Our totems give us some special abilities down here, but they've got limits. Seems like we're able to pinpoint souls within a given range, but this place is laid out like a massive, multi-layered honeycomb, each with its own little hell inside.
And if each human being who's ever lived and died has a cell of their own, that would make something like 100 billion hells to search through.
That's where we're lucky, actually. The cells are just for people who the demons have specific ideas for. When they're done playing with one of us, they toss us out into the general population. That's the classic stuff. Fire, brimstone.
I've seen it. After the plane crash in Brazil, I suppose there wasn't any point in preparing a cell for such a short visit.
We were hoping you'd think of a way to narrow down our search.
I doubt it. But someone else might. Someone who studied hell for much longer than I did.
Jenny looks to Jack.
I know who we should free next.
Cut to a rocky desert under a red sky. This is Earth, though it could easily be confused for its downstairs neighbor. We're looking over Cairo, which has been half demolished and half rebuilt in the image of its historic self. A new Great Pyramid is being erected the old-fashioned way by enslaved humans. Floating high above the city, Queen Ahmanet, portrayed in the film by Sofia Boutella and in this reading by Frankie Starker, watches the suffering below with satisfaction. A booming voice calls out from the balcony of a nearby palace.
My queen, I come with news from below.
Ahmanet looks down and sees Lord Hades, voiced in the film by Doug Bradley and here by Dylan Roth, standing on the stone balcony with one knee bent in fealty. Ahmanet gently wafts down to the balcony and takes a seat upon a grand outdoor throne in a sunroom from which she can survey the construction.
Has something happened, Lord Hades?
It's as I feared. Your Royal Highness will recall that my former servant Charon armed his young squire with the tools to escape their torment and shared this gift with 3 of their comrades.
You assured me that they would never discover this ability.
Hades lowers his gaze.
I underestimated this hunter. They saw through the illusion, freed themselves and several other members of the Dark Legion.
Ahmanet slowly steps down from her throne, her eyes drilling holes through Hades.
How many?
3.
Ahmanet casts a shadow over the kneeling Hades.
So far.
The shadow darkens, as if the light between Ahmanet and Hades is being snuffed out. The floor beneath him becomes soaked in darkness. Arms reach out of the floor, made of the shadow itself, and grab Hades around the arms and neck, pulling him to the ground. He falls onto his back. The arms let go and retreat into the shadow, but before Hades can recover, Ahmanet stomps her foot onto his throat. He struggles against her will until...
Do not resist your queen.
Hades looks up at her, wincing with pain, but gradually lowering his arms to his sides. They lock eyes, Ahmanet asserting dominance, Hades demonstrating incredible will and suppressing his instinct to thrash against her. It's a showdown.
How many of the totems are still under containment?
2, but they won't escape.
You said none of them would escape.
These 2 are my strongest cages. No one possesses the will to break them.
Her foot still on Hades' throat, Ahmanet bends down at the waist to look at him face to face. The shift in her weight puts more pressure on his throat.
I shall hold you to that.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Ahmanet lifts her foot from Hades' throat. He breathes heavily and coughs, clutching his bruised throat. She casually walks back to her throne and sits.
I want this insurgency snuffed out immediately. If even one of them discovers the full potential of those totems, they can destroy everything we've built here. And I will hold you personally responsible.
The breathless Hades makes it up to one knee and bows.
It will be dealt with, my queen.
Dr. Jennifer Halsey swings open a set of double doors onto a corridor in chaos. Red lights flash and swirl, and an alarm blares. Eagle-eyed viewers may or may not recognize this as the Prodigium HQ as we saw it in The Mummy 2017. 3 agents stand in front of her, rifles pointed. She walks calmly.
Stop right there. This building is under emergency lockdown. Identify yourself.
At ease, boys.
She flashes her Prodigium badge and the scale and cross that hang from it. The agents lower their rifles.
Dr. Halsey, what are you doing here?
I just need to get down to sub-level 3.
Now's not a good time. Something went wrong and Dr.
I know. That's why I'm in a bit of a rush. Now, can I get to the elevator, please?
They step aside, and Jenny walks past them. She passes the reception area and moves on to the elevators. Over the sirens, we can hear crashing and gunfire in the distance. Then there's a voice, booming loud in a Cockney accent. As Jenny steps into the elevator, there's another crash, closer this time. Prodigium agents get in formation in front of the open elevator door, shooting at something off-screen. The voice yells again, closer now.
Oi! Which one of yous wants to be the appetizer, and which is the main course?
Jenny rapidly taps the elevator button, and the doors start to close.
Sorry, boys. If it's any consolation, none of you are real.
The doors close just as the Prodigium agents begin to scream. The elevator dings open on sub-level 3. The floor is deserted, alarms still blaring. She sprints through the halls to what looks like a library, enclosed by thick glass doors. Jenny doesn't need her universal lockpick for these. She types in the code by hand. She walks through the bookshelves, taken aback by memories. It seems like just yesterday she was here, and yet it was a literal lifetime ago. The room is not a library. It's an office. Glass cases line the walls, filled with artifacts and inhuman remains. At the back of the room, and centered in our frame, is a large oak desk. Jenny runs her hand along the wood, and then she hears the sobs. She crouches down, looking at someone we can't see, huddled under the desk. The man is crying, repeating over and over to himself.
All my fault. It's all my fault.
Jenny reaches out a hand.
Hey, boss. It's time we got you out of here.
Embers wipe the screen to black. Hard cut to blood splattering across the face of a bearded man. A body lands at his feet, chewed apart, face frozen with their final terror. The man falls to his knees. We hear a low growl, and a massive gray wolf advances towards him, his snout covered in fresh blood. Pull back to see that we're in Cluj-Napoca, Romania, a waste dump turned refugee encampment. There are bodies everywhere, and just as many living, screaming, soon-to-be victims. A full moon shines overhead. The wolf is about to pounce on the bearded man when he's yanked backwards by the tail, held up by an invisible Jack.
Hang on, bud. Heal, I guess.
The wolf whips around, sending Jack flying. We can tell because as he hits the ground, he and his iconic outfit become visible again. Jenny flies overhead and throws a bolt of black energy into the sky, blocking out the moon and stars. She looks down at the wolf. No change. Next, the wolf is hit by a wave of water with the arc of a fist, right across the nose. The wolf's attention flicks to Hunter, who stands in a fighting position.
That would have worked better on a werecat.
The wolf steps towards Hunter, who backpedals. They watch until the wolf has all four paws on a puddle left by their wave. Then Hunter puts their arms forward and twists them around like they're flipping a giant hourglass. The world spins around the wolf, who finds himself floating in an endless sea of dark water. Hunter floats in front of him. He snarls and thrashes, trying to swim closer to them with little success. A light flickers in his eyes. Marya swims towards him, hypnotic ring in front of her. The wolf calms. The world spins again, and we're back in Cluj-Napoca, but the rest of the people, living and dead, have vanished. Hunter, Jack, Jenny, and Marya stand in front of the wolf, who strains against Maria's hypnotic control. He whimpers, flinches, tries to close his eyes, until a hand reaches softly for his chin. It's not Maria's, or Hunter's, or Jenny's.
My dear, dear lad, it's all right.
A man kneels down next to the wolf, wearing dress pants, a vest, and a tie. It's Dr. Henry Jekyll, portrayed in the film by Russell Crowe and in this reading by Abe Goldfarb. Jekyll looks the wolf in the eyes.
I know what you feel. I know this pain all too well. But you are not an animal. You are a man. You are a good man.
Jekyll embraces the wolf, who leans into him. Slowly, the wolf shrinks, shedding its gray fur and reforming into the naked body of Larry Talbot, who throws his arms around Jekyll and cries into his shoulder.
And I am so very proud of you.
One by one, Jack, Jenny, and Hunter join them in a long overdue group hug. Larry looks up at each of them, sniffs back a tear.
Hey, let's not make it weird. I am naked.
The gang shares a laugh and a sigh. Larry looks around, noticing Marya for the first time, and quickly jumps to cover his junk.
Who's this?
Oh, Larry Talbot, I'd like you to meet Marya.
Wait, hang on. Where's Gwen?
Cut to a conference room at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Congresswoman Gwen Conliffe sits around a table with a dozen much older representatives.
I'm all for clemency, but we can't blanket pardon everyone with the marijuana charge just because we've made it legal now. What about dealers, kingpins, enforcers? Where do you draw that line?
I don't. Incarceration doesn't solve anything. It just keeps the cycle going.
Of course, you're a prison abolitionist. And you wonder why we're so terrified of letting your generation take the reins of this party? You live in a fantasy world. The things you want are never gonna happen.
You won't even say I'm wrong. You just keep saying it'll never happen.
Give it a few terms, you'll see. Though, if you keep talking like that, I doubt you'll get the chance.
Another congressman quickly takes the wheel of the conversation. Gwen has been cut off. She stews, loses a little bit of life from her eyes, but tries to at least pay attention for the rest of the meeting. She looks up over the shoulder of the person across from her. There's a window behind him, where Maddie Conliffe stands, looking at her, expressionless. Gwen directs her attention back to the meeting, never acknowledging her brother's presence. A voice from off-screen.
Are you listening to me?
Cut to the living room of the 80s haunted house. The girl sits in the middle of her bedroom, which looks like a storm's blown through it. Her toys and decorations are all over the floor, and her closet's been emptied out. Her mother looms over her.
Well, start picking it up.
I didn't do this. It was Jenny.
Jesus Christ. I was already sick to death of this ghost fantasy, but now you're lying to me. Do you understand how that hurts me?
The girl stands.
I'm not lying. She was here. She was upset and she made a big mess.
What do you have to be upset about? What do I ever do but take care of you?
You never listen to me.
Maybe once you start saying something worth hearing, I'll start listening.
I hate you.
The mother slaps the girl hard across the face. The girl buckles to the floor. The mother backpedals, shocked at herself.
Oh no, I didn't mean...
The mother reaches down to the girl, who recoils.
I'm sorry.
We follow the girl as she gets up, runs to her now empty closet and slams it shut. She tucks her knees close to her chest and buries her head, sobbing softly to herself. Through the slats of the closet door, we see her mother kneeling on the other side.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Carol.
The mother's cry echoes as we cut to the rooftop of a European castle during a raging thunderstorm. On a rain-swept open-air platform lies the patchwork colossus Victor Frankenstein, portrayed in the film by Javier Bardem and voiced here by Dalton DeShane. Above him, operating an array of knobs and levers, stands the mad scientist Caroline Clairville, portrayed in the film by Alicia Vikander and in this reading by Jenna Kass. A bolt of lightning strikes a metal pole overhead. With crazed fury in her eyes, Caroline throws a lever, and the full force of the lightning strikes into Victor's body. He screams, and smoke seeps from the seams between his body parts.
Caroline, please!
What were my pleas worth to you, Father? What did begging ever get me? What mercy did you ever show?
She pulls the lever again, and Victor is struck by another 20,000 agonizing bolts.
I am not the man I was.
The tired refrain of wicked men seeking pardon by way of pity.
I know I do not deserve your forgiveness.
And yet you ask for it incessantly. You hope to burden me with guilt over not absolving you. You haven't changed at all.
Caroline leans down close and speaks directly to Victor's ear.
You can take yourself apart and stitch yourself back together as many times as you like. Swap out an arm, an eye, even your heart, but you will always be the man who hurt me.
Victor turns and looks at Caroline, quivering with pain, fear, and remorse. A flash of lightning. Behind Caroline, 6 backlit figures appear.
Hey, when you're right, you're right. That's a real shitty dad you got there.
A hand lands hard on Caroline's shoulder.
So you won't mind if we borrow him, right?
Victor's eyes widen and his mouth falls agape. For the first time, we hear him laugh. Cut to a traditional general's field tent, populated by some very non-traditional soldiers. Demons of every otherworldly shape arm themselves with blades, crossbows, assault rifles, chainsaws, whatever instrument of death most appeals. Enter Hades, clad in a black toga. Aides rush to his side and begin strapping battle armor to his chest and legs. He adjusts the armor at the collar, still sore from his encounter with Queen Ahmanet. A nearby humanoid demon chuckles.
Her Royal Majesty had a bit of fun with you, did she?
Hades shoos a fluttering bat demon out of his sight, revealing a smirking figure wearing a vest and tie with rolled-up shirt sleeves, a day's beard growth, and a shit-eating grin. It's Eddie Hyde, portrayed in the film by Russell Crowe and in this reading by Abe Goldfarb. He leans casually against a wooden cane.
Not that you ever wore the trousers in the family?
Hyde taps at Hades' bare legs with his cane.
You are no longer bound, you inform, Mr. Hyde. Why do you cling to your past?
I won't be taking no fashion advice from anyone whose balls are blowing in the breeze. Besides, I wouldn't dream of facing poor old Henry in anything but me Sunday best.
Hyde twirls his cane in his fingers until Hades snatches it away. Hades taps one end hard on the floor and it reshapes itself into his signature bident. Hades leads Hyde towards the far end of the tent.
If you hope to slay Dr. Jekyll yourself, I recommend finding a place on the front lines.
Hades parts the other end of the tent, and he and Hyde step out onto a cracked red ground of hell. Hyde wears a toothy grin.
The battle will be brief.
We pull back to see that Hades and Hyde now stand before rows and rows of armed demons, a proper legion, at least 200 strong. Cut to the parlor of Castle Frankenstein, not so different from how we've seen it in ski lodge form. The storm continues to rage outside. Victor gazes out the window, up at the tower where he'd so recently been tortured. Caroline struggles against barred windows and screams into the night. Victor looks out at her, pained.
It isn't really her.
Victor notices that Jekyll is standing right beside him.
They create these facsimiles to torture us. The more lifelike and the more truthful, the more pain they can cause. Nevertheless, the real Caroline is somewhere else, no doubt being tormented by her own personal demons.
I do not know you.
But I know you, sir. My name is Dr. Henry Jekyll. 3 years ago, I sent Dr. Halsey to your home in the Arctic, hoping to enlist you in my war against evil. It seems you found your own way after all.
Victor turns away from the window and sees the Dark Legion, Jenny, Larry, Jack, Hunter, and Marya, looking up at him fondly. Victor smiles back at first, but something is wrong.
Where are the others?
Nick and Carol are unaccounted for. We're hoping Nick is still alive, and that's why we've been unable to find him. As for Carol...
Hell has many means of obscuring a soul from detection. We've yet to rule out all of them. She may still be in a cell somewhere.
Or she may not.
We are not talking about that yet.
Or she may have already been discarded into the pit amongst 100 billion anonymous dead, in which case we'll never find her.
And I already told you, I don't think that's possible. I buried her with the same kind of totem that Jack and I have, and we're fucking superheroes down here. Wherever she is, I think she is safe.
I want to believe that. You know I do. But given everything that's happened these past few years, given where we are now...
Hey, where we are now is a lot better than where we were last week. Evidently, you all went through a lot after I died, and that tells me a few things. 1, I'm the heart of this team and everything goes to shit without me. 2, I'm back now and things are looking up. And 3, we need to free Gwen because if someone doesn't say something mean to me soon, I think my head might literally explode.
You have the energy of a much shorter man.
Hey, shut up.
You're welcome.
Is Gwen also missing?
No, we found her. We just can't reach her.
Cut to Congressman Gwen running on a treadmill in the basement of her house in Talbot. It's the dead of night and most of the lights are off. She wears gym clothes, but also her feather charm necklace. She's got earbuds in, blasting loud music, and she's staring a hole in the wall in front of her, furiously running in place. She flips through her Instagram feed. She's been tagged in something, a talking head from a progressive influencer.
I'm as heartbroken as all of you are, followers. I thought someone like Gwen Conliffe getting elected would be a turning point in the progressive movement, but she's turned out to be just as spineless as everyone else in office.
Gwen swipes away the video. She increases her speed, and her feet pound the treadmill a little harder. The air behind her ripples like water disturbed by a small pebble. It escapes her notice. We pull back and see Hunter and Jack in the desert of hell, pounding against the invisible wall of Gwen's reality. The ripples are the full effect of Hunter and Jack's combined effort. Behind them, Jenny, Victor, Larry, Marya, and Jekyll stand by, unable to help.
I don't understand. This is Gwen's hell? Running in place?
You could say that. She's in Congress.
I was on fire for much of my incarceration. That seems unfair.
Don't take it personally, Vic. See that necklace she's wearing? That's the protective charm she was buried with. It gives her special powers in hell, but only if she knows she has them. If you have one of those, your hell gets seriously nerfed.
Nerfed?
Softened. It's in hell's best interest that she doesn't realize she's being tortured. Not like we were.
What we've yet to determine is why we're unable to enter her cell. Dr. Griffin and Miss Marin were able to open all of ours, but Miss Conliffe's seems impenetrable.
Inside the cell, the lights flick on in Gwen's basement gym. Larry is there, wearing a bland gray business suit. Pull back. Larry is also outside, looking in alongside the rest of the Legion. The rest of the crew looks at him.
Hey, come on. 3 buttons? I would never wear that.
In the gym, Gwen and the fake Larry chat from across the room. Gwen steps off to the edges of her treadmill so that she can stop and take a breath.
Turn the lights back down, please.
Fake Larry does so.
Shit. Okay, sorry. What are you doing down here so late?
I'm trying something new to try and make myself sleep better. An hour on the treadmill to tire out my body. Minimum lighting to power down my brain.
And I just fucked up the whole thing.
No, it's all right.
Gwen turns off the treadmill and grabs her towel from off a nearby piece of equipment. She drapes the towel over her shoulder and approaches fake Larry, swinging her hips a little.
I'm not tired out yet.
She flips the towel so it's behind fake Larry's neck and uses it to draw him in for a kiss. But he doesn't return her enthusiasm. She pulls back.
What is it?
I'm sorry, I'm just not in the mood right now.
You haven't been in the mood in weeks, Larry.
Yeah, well, I'm not a college kid anymore. Work's got me stressed out of my mind, and I don't deal with stress the same way you do. I wish I did, Gwen, but I don't. And then you come home from Washington for a night, or for a weekend if I'm lucky, and we get these narrow windows to be alone together, and the pressure just makes it worse.
Well, excuse me for having a demanding job.
You're not doing your job, Gwen.
Gwen stumbles backwards. She opens her mouth to speak, but nothing comes out.
You don't fight for anything anymore. Shit. I don't even know if you believe in anything anymore.
The fake Larry turns his back and starts up the stairs. Below, Gwen crosses her arms.
What do you want, Larry?
Larry stops and looks back at Gwen.
I want a normal life. I want a normal marriage. I knew that wasn't in the cards for us, but I thought at least I was marrying Gwen fucking Conliffe.
Fake Larry slumps up the stairs. Gwen turns away and leans against a wall. On the other side of the invisible threshold, Larry watches, stone-faced. Victor puts a hand on his shoulder.
It's an illusion, Larry. It's only meant to hurt her.
Yeah.
Larry watches as Gwen stands alone in the basement.
Sure.
Cut to another patch of faraway hell where the Dark Legion is still trying to pierce a gossamer veil into Gwen's. Jack and Hunter trace the edge of the threshold with their totems out, as if looking for a keyhole. Jenny and Jekyll brainstorm magics. Marya stands alone with her arms crossed. Larry paces around uselessly, while Victor sits on the red earth like a lonely kid on the playground. Marya approaches Victor.
We'll find a way in.
Victor looks up at her.
I know you and Gwen were close.
Victor averts his gaze.
It is not Gwen's fate that troubles me. I don't know what's become of my Cassie, or of my son, Quasimodo. Whether they're here in hell or on the fallen earth, I fear they have suffered greatly in my absence.
You waited a long, long time to fall in love again, didn't you?
Victor bows his head.
I thought it was my fate to spend eternity alone.
Marya sighs, then takes a seat on the ground next to Victor.
I did too. You know the nice thing about believing in fate? It doesn't just apply to pain and misery. Whatever good things you luck into in life, those were meant to happen too.
Victor looks over to Marya, looking slightly restored. The Legionnaires who had been studying the barrier now rejoin the others.
I've tried every spell I can think of. We can't brute force our way into Gwen's hell.
Perhaps there's a factor we haven't considered. Perhaps the force that's keeping us out is Gwen herself.
But why?
Gwen? Keeping people who love her at arm's length? Get out of town.
She may not be doing it deliberately. Perhaps her subconscious is attempting to protect the illusion hell has created for her. There's simply no place for us in her life there.
Wait, there is for me. I'm there already, remember? Maybe I can slip through whatever walls she's put up.
I suppose that makes as much sense as anything else does down here. It's worth a try.
Larry, assuming we're able to get in, we don't know if we'll be able to get you out. You could be...
What? Forced to spend eternity with someone I love?
Larry flashes that boyish movie star smile.
I think I'll risk it.
Cut back to the haunted 1980s house. The little girl, who we now know to be Carol Lemley, sits on her bed, above her covers, clutching her knees to her chest. We hear muffled, raised voices from downstairs.
I can't believe you'd hit our child.
I told you, it's never happened before, and it'll never happen again.
How am I supposed to trust you after this?
I'd like to see how you do taking care of her by yourself day after day. You have no idea how hard it is.
Carol sobs quietly to herself.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
We see a white wisp of something, like smoke in the shape of a hand, reach in from off-screen to pat Carol's shoulder. Carol recoils.
Get away from me! This is all your fault. I never want to see you again.
The ghostly hand loses its shape and disperses into the air like vapor. Within seconds, it's gone. Cut back to Gwen, her dark basement gym, not long after the argument with her husband. She's wailing on a punching bag, UFC-style fingerless boxing gloves on her hands, runny mascara stains on her face. After a flurry of punches and kicks, she lets out a very human scream of anguish. She puts her head in her hands, angry at herself for crying.
Hey.
Reflexively, Gwen whirls around and throws a punch. The man behind her catches it. Larry, dressed in gym shorts and a perfectly fitted Villalobos gym tee, smiles at her with doe eyes.
Now, what kind of world-class heel would make you cry like that?
Gwen's eyes flutter. She can't believe what she's seeing.
It's you.
Okay, this might be confusing, but that wasn't me just now.
Oh my god, it's you!
Wait, how did you know?
Gwen cups her gloved hand over Larry's mouth.
Later.
She pulls her hand away and kisses him hard. She jumps and wraps her legs around him, and he catches her. They kiss furiously before tumbling onto a yoga mat and out of view. Cut to the barren wastes of hell, where Hunter is still peering through the veil into Gwen's hell. They suddenly blink surprise in their eyes and stumble backwards a bit. Marya and Jack stand nearby. Marya puts a hand on their shoulder.
Are you all right, Hunter?
Yeah, I'm fine. I think Gwen just shut the blinds on us.
I can't see in either. Is that bad?
No, that's good. It's definitely good.
Jenny floats down from above and rejoins the group, which still includes Jekyll, Victor, and Marya.
What is it, Jenny?
Something's coming.
Something like a demon or a god?
Something like an army.
The team follows Jenny's gaze out to the far, flat horizon of hell. A dark shadow grows. We hear the thumping of countless boots. Cut back to the gym. Larry and Gwen lie together on the floor. We're in one of those discretion shots that cuts off at the waists of two sweaty people who kept their shirts on during sex. The feather totem.
Larry does not keep his shirt on during
Not
sex.
normally.
In movies?
Not normally.
But this is a movie.
Okay. All right.
I'm just saying, Larry is not the type
no,
who
but also the audience
with
would
his shirt
probably
on.
like to see Larry's chest as well. But what I'm trying to say is this was a rush job here. But okay, Gwen kept her shirt on during sex.
Every single time Larry fucks, he rips his shirt off from the middle. He goes through t-shirts like crazy.
Even a perfectly fitted Villalobos gym tank?
Yeah.
Okay.
He has he opens his closet and it's like Doug Funnies, where it's all the same outfit laid out.
That's always been my dream. I've always wanted to have a Daria closet where it's just like every single outfit's the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm normal. The feather totem still hangs around Gwen's neck.
You have no idea how badly I needed that.
Please. I died first, remember?
Yeah, I guess that's true. I'm really sorry, Larry.
You don't have to.
I pushed you really hard. I wondered for a long time if that's why you did it, why you sacrificed yourself. Then I remember how self-centered that idea is.
It wasn't just you. It was Jekyll, too. And Victor, weirdly enough. And saving the world was a pretty good motivation, too. But yeah, of course I did it for you.
Gwen turns away, embarrassed, maybe ashamed. Larry gently turns her back towards him and kisses her lips.
I don't regret it. I spent 3 years in hell for you, and I would do it again.
Gwen smiles, lets a tear fall, then sits up, once again avoiding him. Larry sits up next to her.
Hey, I didn't mean to... I'm not trying to guilt you with the hell thing. I thought it was romantic.
It was romantic. It was really fucking romantic, okay? You're just making this really hard.
I don't understand.
Gwen takes a breath, steadies herself, looks Larry in the eye.
I'm not coming with you.
What do you mean you're not coming with me?
I'm staying here.
Gwen, this is hell.
I know, or it was until about a week ago when I found the totem Hunter gave me. Then before I even knew it, part of me started taking over this place. Once I realized what was happening, I started consciously rewriting the rules of this simulation, or whatever you want to call it. The demons don't run this place anymore. I do.
Gwen, if you rule this world, then why does it still suck?
I don't rule it. Nothing does. I kicked the demons out, but I left the program running. It's just like real life now. I'm just playing out my role as best I can, seeing if I could have made a difference this way. I've never really tried that before.
So you could just fix everything, but you won't?
It wouldn't prove anything or help anyone. Everyone here but me is an illusion anyway.
Gwen looks up at Larry.
Everyone but us.
She asks him something with her eyes. Larry turns away, gets up, and quickly finds his shorts. Gwen stands, pulling her own pants back on, then reaching for his arm.
Larry.
No, I'm not staying here. The team needs me.
To do what, Larry? To do what? There's nothing left. You didn't see what I saw. People died by the millions. Children eating their parents. That world is over. This one's still here. If you don't like it, I can change it. We can change it together. Just don't go.
You want to talk about change? 5 years ago, I was this close to becoming the problem. I would have followed in my father's footsteps, torn up the earth, played lackey for the literal vampires running our world, and never have given it a second thought. I would have taken the world as it was and never thought about what it could be. Instead, I learned to believe in something better. And that something was you, Gwen. That's the power you have.
Larry is toe-to-toe with Gwen. He lifts the feather charm still attached to Gwen's necklace and holds it between them.
Who knows what you could do with that power, and whatever else this gives you. But I know what you used to say you'd do if you didn't have to play by their terms anymore. If you could do anything.
As Larry speaks, his clothes shapeshift on his body. He's now wearing the suit the false Larry had on during their earlier fight. Larry looks down and notices. He sighs, exasperated.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you know what? He was fucking right. Now let me out of here.
No, I won't let you leave me here alone. Not again.
The dam finally bursts. Gwen can't hold back the tears anymore. Larry resists the urge to comfort her. He's still so angry.
I'm sorry I did this to you. You could have been happy. You would have been happy without me. Instead, I made you prove yourself over and over and over. I never let you believe you were good enough.
Larry's face softens.
Gwen, baby, I'm sorry you've been carrying this guilt around with you all this time. I wish we talked about it earlier. Because self-esteem...
Larry smiles tearfully.
Never really one of my problems.
They both crack. Tears give way to laughter, and they embrace. Gwen leans her head against Larry's chest. He holds her tight. She sighs.
Fuck, Larry. What are we gonna do now?
We cut back to the craggy red desert of hell. Jekyll, Jenny, Victor, Jack, Hunter, and Marya stand back to back as a circle of demonic troops closes in around them, still about a half-mile from contact.
We need to run!
There's nowhere to run to. They had us surrounded before we even sensed the presence. They planned this well.
What even happens when they reach us? Can we die here? Aren't we already dead? Can they even be killed?
I'm quite certain we're about to find out.
Our only hope is to use every advantage we have. Hunter, Jack, those totems have seriously boosted your abilities. Whatever you think their limits might be, push them. Hold nothing back. Halsey, have you been feeling what I'm feeling?
Jenny blushes.
I don't think this is the appropriate time.
Your magic, Halsey. We're closer to the source down here. We can draw from it much more easily than we could on Earth.
Yes, of course. That too.
And Victor, you were nearly impossible to kill before. I'm willing to bet you're even sturdier now.
Victor punches his right fist into his left hand. A little reminder that he's working with both of his own arms again.
We shall put that to the test.
And Jekyll?
Everyone looks at the good doctor.
Good luck out there.
Hunter catches a glimpse of something flying toward them, soaring over the demon army.
Look!
The Legion turns, ready for anything, but relax when they see that it's Evelyn O'Connell, carrying a man they don't recognize. But we do. It's David, the last Midwich cuckoo. They land in front of them.
Evelyn O'Connell?
Evelyn runs up and hugs Jekyll.
Henry, it's so good to see you.
You're a Nephilim?
Sorry, Doctor, but there's no time to catch up.
We're aware. Good to have you in the fight. You're just in time.
Sorry, Jenny, but we have more pressing issues.
More pressing than the armies of hell?
Evelyn addresses everyone.
Dracula's down here, and by now he'll have fully recovered his power.
Marya tenses.
How?
Long story. What matters is his plan. While you all are busy fighting Ahmanet's lackeys, he's going to find the big fiery reset button and rebuild the world in his own image.
Jack looks back at the advancing army anxiously.
Look, that's real bad and all, but can you cut to the part where you have a plan?
Evelyn looks directly at Jenny.
We have to find Nick.
What? What happened to him?
Dracula killed him. And you can bet that whatever hell he got sent to, it's probably one of the worst.
Jenny nods.
I'll come with you.
Whoa. I want to kill Dracula more than anyone. But we can't sacrifice our best mage right before facing a horde of demons.
That's when David steps forward.
How about a trade? I'll step in for her.
I'm sorry. Who are you, and why doesn't your face fit right?
I'm David, and I'm tougher than I look.
Jenny looks back at the Legion.
I'm sorry, but I can't leave Nick behind. And maybe wherever he is, I'll find Carol as well.
Jekyll nods at her and gives a wry smile.
It wouldn't be a proper reunion without Mr. Morton around to muck things up for everyone.
Jenny says her goodbyes. She looks at Evelyn, and they both take to the sky. Evelyn on wing and Jenny floating on purple clouds of magical energy. Cut to Hades, riding on a chariot being pulled by 2 skeletal horses. Behind him, an army of horrific creatures follows, brandishing weapons and licking their chops. A seemingly endless circle of troops closes in on the Dark Legion. Hades raises his bident, and the army slows to a halt. The demons are itchy to claim their kills, but obey their god's command. Hades speaks in a voice that seems to come from everywhere.
Dark Legion, I am a jailer, not a warrior. I crave not for your blood. Relinquish your totems and return to your cells, and I shall consider this conflict resolved.
Inside the circle, Hunter steps forward in the direction of Hades.
You're going to answer for killing my friend.
Lord Charon was mine to destroy, as are you all. You need not consign yourselves to his fate. Surely damnation is preferable to oblivion.
Oh yeah? Try it sometime.
We reject your terms, Hades. Now hear ours. Queen Ahmanet must retreat back to hell and surrender Earth back to the living.
Is that what you fight for? Such a pitiful aim. Your Earth has already been laid to waste, and there are too few still living to restore it. Had I the authority, it might actually amuse me to accept your terms. Alas, Queen Ahmanet is too fond of her prize. She will never surrender it, even after every last soul has been buried here below.
Marya shoots Jekyll an incredulous look.
Well, it was worth a try.
Behind Hades, Mr. Hyde shoves his way through a row of demons and stands behind the chariot.
Enough yammering. I'm hungry. We're all hungry!
The army behind him roars with sick glee. The Legion tightens their ranks. Victor pulls Jekyll behind him. Marya and Jack squeeze each other's hands. Beside Hunter, Victor steadies himself.
It has been a privilege to know each of you. I am grateful for this second chance at family.
Oh no, we're not talking like that yet. We're not talking at all. Trust a gamer. There's only 2 words for a time like this.
Hades raises his bident, then points it forward. The army charges inward towards the Dark Legion. It sounds like an earthquake.
Ready?
Marya throws her hand towards the sky and her ring flashes with light. Then she morphs into a mighty panther 7 feet long from tooth to tail. Victor watches as raging spouts of water burst from cracks in the ground around Hunter. Feeling a surge of confidence, he squares up, close on Hunter.
Fight!
Hard cut to a cliffside, miles away, where Count Dracula stands looking out at this battle.
Who now has both arms, by the way.
The grinning face of Pazuzu leers over his shoulder. Dracula turns his back on the armies to face an impossibly large black castle, rippling from the heat in the distance. The same castle he approached at the end of Dracula in Hell. He grins, revealing his restored canine teeth, long, sharp, and thirsty. End of Act 2.
Woo!
I think that was the longest continuous thing we've ever done here in terms of
Well, we took
rating.
a break in the middle.
I guess one little break, yeah.
That was, though, Act 2 is as long as one of our normal pitches.
Yeah, Act 2 is about 65 pages.
65 pages. Most of which was you. I contributed. I mostly came in, adjusted some pacing a little bit.
Yeah.
I sort of smoothed out just the flow because we're jumping around so much. I just wanted to.
Yeah,
I added some
usually
flow stuff.
you always tighten me up when we're working together. And you did some rewrites on Hunter's section.
I did some rewrites on Hunter's section. I also had to have Evelyn swoop down at the end and take Jenny away from you.
Right, because you
had
plans already. Jenny was giving the ultimatum, actually.
Yes, yeah. And then I was like, sorry, I need Jenny. We need to go get Nick. Here's David instead.
It's better with Jekyll. Honestly, it is. It was worth a try thing. I don't remember if I had Jenny doing that, but it's much funnier with Jekyll.
I also had to go through and correct every time your autocorrect changed bident to bidet.
It did it every single time. I tried to catch as many as I could, but every time it would not learn the word bident.
Hades was wielding a bidet while preparing for battle. But no, look.
We have such things to show you.
Your Blorbos are back, everybody.
All the Blorbos are back. Well, not quite all of them.
Carol is still in hell, and so is Gwen. Well, they're all in hell.
Well, yes.
Carol and Gwen are in their personal hells.
Gwen is trapped in her hell. We have Carol. I mean, we haven't seen Darcy Carden yet.
No, we have just seen
child Carol. And
so she's lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
Nick is
I'm hoping that it was
somewhere.
I don't think it was hard to guess, especially if you remember that Carol was buried with that Ankh. Probably from the beginning of this section, you know that was going to be Carol. But I hope that it was suspenseful for some of you.
There were a lot of hints that she was wearing the Casper the Friendly Ghost
She's watching
shirt
Scooby-Doo.
stuff. She's watching Scooby-Doo.
But I
hopefully got a couple of you by surprise.
The little potential mislead in that there's that ghost Jenny in there. So you're wondering, is that Jenny? But then, we finally find Jenny. So what's going on?
Yeah. You did a great job here. This was,
Thank
like
you.
I said, this is mostly you. This is a lot of great character work. You designed most everybody's hells. Oh, the other thing I jumped in was the rescuing of Jekyll.
Yeah.
I
initially
added that thing. But.
I wanted the reveal of Jekyll to be when he shows up in Larry's hell.
Yeah.
But you were talking about how that's a little bit too abrupt, and like he being one of the original guys, he kind of should have his own little sequence. You did preserve that moment for me. We don't see Jekyll until he steps on screen to comfort Larry.
Yeah.
It's a bond that we established in the first Dark Legion that I don't know. I wanted to reward. I basically made like a little chart. I didn't go full on index cards with this, but I basically made a little chart of all the characters I needed to revive and try to come up with the best domino sequence of the most meaningful order that you could wake them. Which was interesting because I was actually happy that I didn't have to put Gwen with Victor because Gwen was going to have to go last.
It was nice to have Larry get Victor,
and then Larry to get Victor because they in the Mummy's hand
they bond.
They bond really strongly, and so you kind of get the bridge between some of them. It's like Larry gets to be kind of rescued by one of his short-lived mentors, and then gets to rescue another sort of would-be, probably not father figure, but like a brother in arms who discovered that they had a lot. They understood each other a lot better. I really always liked the way that we redeemed the two of them after Victor was the one who tore Larry's mom in half.
Yeah. But no, they had a good arc together. And so the Dark Legion mostly has been freed from their hells, but they're about to be beset upon by the entire amassed armies of hell. Nick is missing. Dracula has his powers back. Dracula now is fully vampire again. So the stakes are high, and that's where we wanted to leave this. We wanted, because Act 2, for the most part, does not overlap with Act 1 at all. That's why you and I were able to go in and write simultaneously.
Yes, Nick does not appear in Act 2 at all.
No.
And you added the Dracula teaser stinger at the end of that. Yeah. I at some point had a placeholder spot in the middle of Act 2 being check in with Dracula, but we were at that point like 178 pages.
Yeah.
So,
and I thought it was good to leave, like, I wanted to let... What I really like is that we have this whole Act 1 that builds all this momentum with Nick and Dracula and ends with us going to hell, right? Dracula goes to hell, but so does Nick. And then we don't see Earth anymore. And then but that transition to hell takes us into your part, which is all of our characters in hell. And I like just letting them have their momentum now and just letting that momentum run all the way up until the end of Act 2, where these two things collide at the same time and at the worst possible moment, right? Of course, it's at the worst possible moment. The army is coming. They need all the help they can get. But oh shit, we actually need to go get Nick and stop Dracula. And so now we're split up. And we have these two goals, each of which kind of seems impossible. And of course, that's where you end your Act 2, right? Is like the highest stakes, the lowest point. And now what the fuck is going to happen?
When working on this movie, I thought a lot. I know that the obvious influence point is Endgame, but I was thinking a lot more actively about The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Partly because, like, throughout The Lord of the Rings, the jeopardy is separated between different members of the party, right? And when you get to the end of Return of the King, maybe I should save this for next time.
Okay.
I think I'll save this for next time.
One thing I was thinking about with Endgame, though, and we talk about this in our planning episode a little bit, is how the hell section is sort of like the time travel section. It allows us to sort of close all these character loops, but also a little bit kind of tour past locations, and more importantly for us, past relationships. We do go to like Cluj-Napoca. We see the original Prodigium facility from the Mummy. We go to Talbot. So like these hells do take us to familiar places, but more than that, it allows us to go back to these relationships we haven't seen in a while because some of the characters have been dead since House of Dracula.
Yeah, we needed to get, like, obviously I was very intensely interested in working out the Gwen and Larry stuff because that's been part of the recipe from the very beginning for me, and they haven't seen each other in a really long time. We haven't seen the two of them together in a really long time. And it's the kind of thing where, like, the similarities structurally to Endgame are, like, basically inevitable.
Sure.
I was not aiming for any of it, but this kind of is like, well, we need this section of the movie where it's really just about the relationships and it costs less money. And that just turns out that way, you know? But, you know, that's always me, like, my favorite. Like, I like, to the extent that I like anything in Age of Ultron, I don't think there's anything wrong with that farm sequence. I think that that's important stuff. I love the second act of the Avengers where they're just arguing on the boat. Big surprise. These are my favorite things. And so this was my favorite part to write. And except for one thing that's coming up in part 3, this was, I think, my favorite and my favorite thing to write in the whole show was this act 2 of this movie. And I'm really, really proud of it.
Yeah, I think it's really good. The other thing, like, you know, I think one of the things, when you had told me some of your ideas for Act 2, this was like probably around Death's Door.
Yeah.
I was a little wary just because I was like, I don't want Hell on Earth to be too light. You know, like we've built up all this horror stuff. I don't want it to be too triumphant, you know. But then Death's Door is such a bummer. And then so was our Phase 4. Like, it was literally around the time, I think, like, once I finished The Exorcist, I was like, you know what? Hell on Earth can be as bright as it needs to be. Because, like, we took things to such a dark level and kept it there through Night of the Living Dead, through Old Dark House, through The Exorcist. All these things were, like, really dark that I was like...
You left out the 2 funny ones, but yes.
Well, there were 2 funny ones, but things still had been really, really dark. And so it was like, our audience has been through... We've put them through so much, our audience deserves a win. Not in a way that it feels cheap or like we should make things overly sentimental or like betray the tone that we have. But I think like allowing things to feel like letting the crowd like pump their fist.
Yeah, you've earned it. You, the audience, by making it this far, have fucking earned it. And we talked about this when we were planning Death's Door.
Yeah.
Because we wanted things to get dark enough, to get low enough.
That we could earn
as big or as anything the audience gets to lift them up is going to feel good.
Yeah.
And it can be big or it can be small, but it will feel right and it won't feel cheap because you fucking deserve it. You deserve that breath.
Yeah.
This was a little breath. Now we're about to take another plunge into action.
Yes. Now we do have a whole act left, so who knows what kind of terrible things could happen to our heroes. Especially because our Act 3 is almost as long as our Act 2.
But we're not going to have only one of us do it in the stage direction next time.
Yes.
We'll be trading off.
We are going to go maybe take a short Mario Kart break or something.
Yeah, do something. I need some water, maybe a slice of pizza.
And then we're going to come back. We're going to see you in just 3 days now.
Yeah.
On Sunday.
Wow.
This whole shebang comes to an end with the finale of Hell on Earth, the finale of the Dark Universe.
Oh, man. Now it's going to be emotional.
But before we go, and before we leave you on this cliffhanger until Sunday, let's check in with the people that made it possible. You, our patrons.
Yes, thank you all so much. Everybody who's supporting us at any level, we really appreciate it. It's allowed us to really make the show a lot better. God, what a journey. We want to give a special shout out to our executive producers. These are folks who have subscribed at the $15 a month level and thus buy themselves a little shout out on everything we record while they're there. That's Brent Dreyer, Brian Egan, Mar Bendlar, Matt Thackeray, Soonmot, and Mike Lee Whiplash. And a big thanks to our studio executives who, in addition to the shout outs with their $25 a month, also get to pick one movie that we pitch to each other on our bonus podcast, Are You Afraid of Dylan and Dalton? You can become a subscriber at patreon.com/Dylan and Dalton. Subscription tiers start at $5 a month, and you also can get 7 free days. So if you want to discuss everything you've just heard, the last opportunity to get your last chance to get to speculate about what's going to be happening in the Dark Universe is the next 3 days. So hop on in there. Special thanks to studio executives Alyssa, Bill French, Beerus, Joe Valiant, Jonathan Morgantini, Moose, The Real, Nick Morton, Rich Mays, and Tom Webster. Thank you all so much for your support.
All right. And I think that'll do it until Sunday. So everyone out there, until next time,
stay afraid of the Dark Universe.